Hello, this is Monica Louie from ourdebtfreefamily.com, and today I'm excited to bring you Dontae and Laura Harris, and they're here to share about how they have paid off $22,000 in debt. So Dontae and Laura, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for
Good.
having us.
So why don't you get started and tell us a little bit about yourselves? What do you guys do? How long have you been married? That kind of thing.
Well, we've been married going on 4 years, and Dante works in sales, and I stay at home with our two kids. Our oldest is 2 years old, and we've got a little 8-month-old baby. So,
Oh,
besides me staying at home, I am a financial coach at my church, and I also coordinate our Financial Peace University classes at our church.
well, fantastic. So what made you decide to get out of debt?
Well, that was something that kind of started um, while we were dating. Just after we got engaged, our church had started a round of Financial Peace University, and she didn't have a lot of debt, but I had accumulated quite a bit from college. I had about $15,000 left over from college when I graduated in student loans, and then after I graduated, I was unable to find work for a number of years and basically lived off of credit cards and eventually defaulted on those. So that is a majority of where our debt came from. She had a little bit from a car loan, and I think that was pretty much it. But
Mhm.
the idea of starting a family together with that much debt looming over our heads wasn't something that we found all too comforting. Um, so when the financial peace class started up, it was I think we found out about it like the week after we got engaged. Um, we immediately signed up for it and went through the course and did it again after we were married just to keep us fresh. And she's been teaching it ever since then.
Yep.
That's great. That's really great. So how long did it take you to pay off the debt? And what were you doing during that time and how much were you making?
Well, we started, that was January of
11.
2011,
Mhm.
and we wrote our last check to pay off our debt in September
Might have been November. It was the fall, yeah, of
of 2012, I believe it was.
so like 22 months, and somewhere between that time, we were coming up on our first year anniversary when we found out we were expecting our daughter. So that was like, there's nothing like a deadline like that because that not only it's a good thing, it inspires you, but you're thinking all of, I mean, your life is changing forever, and now you have this new life that is depending on you. So we really like got it together when that was coming. We were like, we want to be out of debt when we become parents, and so that became the goal. And we both were working full time. We're in Indiana, and so the living expenses are pretty low, but that also means just income in general. We were putting in like 48,000.
Yeah, about
Yeah,
that.
48,000 combined. So uh, yeah, basically that was we just decided to really target all that toward our debt, and we did ultimately get out of debt just a couple months before she was born. Um, so
Yeah, we
that
were
was
able to save
exciting.
up enough cash to pay for all of our medical expenses before we walked out of the hospital. And after insurance, the hospital determined that we actually overpaid, so they cut us a refund check like a month or two after we got home. So that was pretty
Well,
cool.
Yeah,
yeah, that's nice.
yeah.
So, okay, so you were making 48,000 combined during that time?
Hmm. So I was
Wow.
working at a bank in customer service, and he had really just kind of started in his position in the sales. So yeah, that's what we did.
Wow,
So
fantastic. So, what steps did you take to get yourself organized and develop your plan to get out of debt?
we used the financial peace baby steps. So there's 7 steps. I'll just reference the first few because baby step one, we really looked at we just need some money in as an emergency fund. So we put away $1,000 and just said we won't touch that. And then everything on top of that went toward debt. So that was it. That's where we started. It was really simple. Doesn't mean it was easy, but it started simple like that. So
Yeah, and we found other areas where we could kind of trim back and make things a little easier on our budget. So the first financial peace class we went through, we met a couple who owned a duplex, and they offered to give us really cheap rent, and then on top of that, we could have earned, by helping out around the house, they would have taken increments out of the total for our rent each month. So we could have had $100 less than what they were initially charging us just by helping out around. And that certainly was a huge help. We really just had to pay for utilities, and that was it.
Yeah.
Nice.
In addition to that, she started taking up couponing and partnered up with that couple too. With that, and that helped to save us a lot of money. Because Kara, who's actually her partner in teaching financial peace, the current class that they've got going, incredible when it comes to couponing. So like, she would often come back from the grocery store with cash in hand and products that she basically got for free, which was ridiculous. But yeah.
Wow, I'm gonna have to learn some of your tips.
Well, I'm still learning. She's really got a lot of good tips.
So what other sacrifices did you make to meet your goal?
There's really 4 big ones. They're kind of unique, and they didn't all happen at once. But the first one was we decided, both of us, to get rid of our smartphones. Not permanently, but we both had smartphones, and we decided to get what we called our dumb phones, just the simple basic plans, so that we could really like reallocate that toward our debt. So that for me, it was in 2011 and 12. For me, that wasn't a huge sacrifice. Different for you.
I prior to my current position, I used to work in consumer electronics, and I was always staying abreast of the latest technology. So I was upgrading phones probably every 6 months, 6 to 8 months on average.
That's the latest thing.
Yeah, that's
Greatest?
done.
Yeah. So then the second thing we did was to just live off of one income. And it was not, I mean, we both worked 40 hours a week, but we decided we'd live off his income, which mine, I was making maybe 19,000. So we put away everything I made. Just every month we'd budget out a big chunk and just send it straight to our debt. And again, it didn't happen overnight, but we worked toward that, and it was great because now that we have our 2 children, I am able to stay at home, and we live all off of his income because we practiced that when we didn't have to. That was we didn't realize that would be such a big benefit. So that was the second thing. The third is we paused our 401k contributions. That was hard to say no to that for temporarily, but I mean, it was such a huge, like, we got laser focused when we did that, because we're like, okay, this hurts, like, we want that, but the opportunity to move more money toward debt it'll make it quicker, and so that was another thing. And the fourth was that we waited to buy a house, even though we were expecting baby, saving all this money. A lot of people would just rush out and get a house, and housing here is cheap enough for that. But we just made the decision, no, we would rather have our children be in a debt-free home than like 0 savings and lots of debt, So.
That's fantastic. So you did make a lot of sacrifices to reach your goal. So if someone is considering starting their own debt-free journey, what advice would you give to them?
Start now. The sooner the better. Like I think one of the greatest things with where we're at now, even with her not working, I mean, I'm in sales, so I'm in control of whatever I bring in, and my pay has definitely increased quite a bit since we started our debt-free journey. But the fact that is now our money means more than anything.
Yeah.
So like everything that we put away, like, that's ours. We can do whatever we want with it, which usually means we don't do anything at all because we have a hard time letting go at this point.
Yeah.
I would just say, like, being intentional. I say be intentional and take Financial Peace University. And they don't pay me to say it. I teach it for free because I'm so passionate about it. All the coordinators, you go and ask any of them. It's just such a great roadmap for everybody, I think.
Great. So, anything else that you wanted to share about your story? Maybe about, did you do anything to increase your income during that time?
We've experimented with a few things, mostly her, just because of the free time that she has, getting to stay at home with her kids, which I'm not saying that she has all the time in the world. I know how big of a sacrifice that is for her as well. But it's not so much about increasing our income as much as it is finding ways to, like, I'm probably more of the financial nerd, as Dave Ramsey says, but I give her, we share the control in terms of what we do with our finances. And what I do for myself, I'm just as much a free spirit as I am a nerd, except all of my focus when it comes to spending my money is music related. So I'm a musician. I was a professional musician before we were married, before we were dating, while we were dating. Still now, somewhat, but and my job revolves around that. I'm in musical instrument sales with a company here in Fort Wayne that's we ship worldwide. We deal internationally. So,
but you started like fixing up gear and guitars. He's kind of like the guitar whisperer, and then he just has this pretty regular, income that's been trickling in from that.
Yeah. So I work with hundreds of other musicians who don't know anything about the gear that they use or how to fix it. They just buy it and use it, and they're happy with that. And then they just bring me their money and hand me their instruments to make them right. Yeah. And so that's one way that I have helped to satisfy my own gear needs.
Yeah, to be able to spend a little, like, while you're in the thick of it, that's a big thing that, you just gotta, it's not all just survival mode. So, like, he was able to buy something that he wanted, and it's just in the plan, you just plan for it. So.
You plan for it ahead of time. So what is the best part of being debt-free? Because you guys are 100% debt-free. I'm so envious. So what is the best part about that?
I know the day that we wrote that final check, and I think that was for my student loan.
It was just a big lump sum.
Like I remember dropping that in the mail and like having the biggest relief, like the whole world was lifted off my shoulders. And I was checking my my student loan account every day, waiting to see if it had posted yet. And I, like, even the day that I'd sent it in, knowing full well that it hasn't even left our city, like, I was just so anxious to know and be able to say, yes, we're finally debt-free. We don't have anything to be concerned with anymore. Like, any finances that we have coming in at that point is ours, and we can do whatever we want. And to celebrate, when that finally posted, I went out and bought some new technology because I was hurting.
Yeah, we did, didn't we? We did, all that time without a smartphone, and we turned around and we celebrated a little. And I would say it just makes, we were just getting started. I mean, this was kind of the first thing we did with our money. We were way at the bottom of our income potential, like just everything new. So we could have felt a lot like we were just failing, but to be able to both of us come together and work toward that goal and then finish it, I mean, that simple thing is a very powerful feeling. So, yeah.
Would you say that it brought you closer together in starting off your marriage, working on such a huge goal together?
That's hard to say, because we've always gotten along really well and have been very open in the way that we've communicated with one another. I think where most couples usually argue about how money is spent, like the troubles that they have, comes from the fact that they are in debt and trying to overcome debt. For us, it's never really been about that because we were on the same page when when we were dealing with debt. Now it's, do we really need to go out and buy groceries? I mean, I know we have money set aside for it, but are we that desperate for food? Like, I think we can hold out a couple more days.
Well, I think it's just a neutral ground that we can't get mad at the other person for something because we both agreed on the plan way at the beginning. So if we get mad about it, we're just mad at the plan. And then we give each other that extra grace because it's not like it's his thing or her thing, that that there's that neutral area we both feel safe and we can get to, and we just started off that way. And we did it on accident. We had no clue it was going to be as important as it was. We were in the class, and there were all these other married couples that had been married longer, and they were just, like, cheering us on, like, we wish we would have had this, at the beginning. So we were just like, oops, good, yay, I'm glad we did that, and it's worked out really well for us both.
Great. So you've held off on buying a house. So is that in your upcoming plan for your money?
Yeah, that's our next goal. We have a list of goals that we're hoping to accomplish over the next 20 years, and buying a house is certainly the very next thing on our list. It's still just a matter of trying to figure out when we want to do that, because we're at a point now where we could go out and buy a house, but in my mind, I feel like we would be settling. There's certain things that we're looking for, a certain area of town that we want to be in, and I would be more comfortable putting down as large of a down payment as possible, and avoiding having to deal with PMI and other ridiculousness that are involved in living homes.
Well, now we have a taste for being debt-free, so, it raises the bar on what you think you can handle. And so we're trying to really push ourselves to be patient, rent for a little bit, because we're being intentional, and then put down as much of a down payment as we can.
Fantastic. All right. So, Laura, I know that you have a blog that I love called piggybankdreams.com. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that and how our people watching this can follow you and learn more about you?
Sure. Well, my two favorite things are talking about how to help people with their finances and family. So I meshed those two with my first personal finance blog, piggybankdreams.com. It's just a way that every week I just update it with stories about what's worked for us, what hasn't worked for us, what's working for other people. Recipes, just anything that I think people could just take away and try to, raise their kids in a way that teaches them money tips and be closer together if they're married. And anyway, so that is what I'm doing with my blog. It's tons of fun, and I have a Facebook page under my name, Laura Harris, as personal financial blogger, and I'm on Twitter. You can find me at either of those, talking about money.
Great. Great. Well, thank you so much for being here, Dontae and Laura. I really appreciate you sharing your story about how you got out of debt and living debt-free.
Sure.
Yeah, we love sharing it. We tell people every day.
If you would like to hear more debt-free stories and learn how you can take control of your money and pay off your debt, be sure to visit ourdebtfreefamily.com. I share my family's story of how we've paid off $65,000 in 11 months on a single middle-class income. Go check it out, and thanks for watching.